Hey, welcome. I have for you today a beautiful autumn cornucopia wreath. These wreaths are very trendy on Pinterest, and I thought I would do my own creative spin on this wreath. This one is vibrant with fall colors, and I just love it. Welcome back to my subscribers, and welcome to all visiting my channel today. I hope you will give this video a thumbs up and that you will subscribe if you are a newcomer and share my channel with others. Okay, let's get busy on this pretty autumn cornucopia wreath. Let's look at the materials that we will need to create this wreath. I picked up this cornucopia at Hobby Lobby in their 40% off section. Now it's a wicker. As you can see, I've dissected it. This is a wicker cornucopia, but I really want mine covered with burlap, so I'm going to make that happen. So what I did already was I cut the back side of that cornucopia off using wire cutters and scissors. I'll show you more about that in just a bit. I am also going to be cutting off a two-piece section of this wire wreath frame from Dollar Tree. And this is going to be what I'm going to connect my deco mesh to later on, and I'll be showing you that. I cut some strips of this burlap I got at Walmart. It has a bit of a little shimmer to it, and I got it in the fabric section at Walmart. And that deco mesh there, I absolutely love that poly mesh. I believe I got that at Hobby Lobby at some point in time. Every other week, their deco mesh is 40% off, and I just used a little bit less than a full roll. This wire is from the jute covered wire. It's from Dollar Tree. And I have these three beautiful ribbons, two of which I'm going to make a gorgeous bow to go on this piece. One of those ribbons was from Amazon, and two of them were from Hobby Lobby. I will clarify which ones I use later and where I got them. I have those two sunflowers there, which I ended up using the off-white sunflower on this piece. All of my florals are from Hobby Lobby. As always, I gathered together any florals I thought that I might use while I'm decorating this piece. All of those florals, the leaves, the sunflowers, the berries, all of those are from Hobby Lobby. And I get those 40% off in the section, the autumn section. Now I have some acorns, which I also got at Hobby Lobby. Absolutely love acorns on an autumn decor piece. I have some little pine cones. I have this deco mesh. It's kind of a burlap colored deco mesh. And this little pumpkin with the speckles, I got that at Hobby Lobby. And these little, I call them sweater pumpkins because they're covered with like a little material that reminds me of a sweater. And I have those in off-white and orange. I also have some of these velvety pumpkins, but I didn't mix the textures. I just went ahead and used just the sweatery pumpkins. That's not even a word, but it is now, I guess. And then that speckled pumpkin, that one I got in the aisle with all of the floral picks. Okay, so now for this cornucopia, I needed to cut off the back side of this so it would have a flat back because this is going to go on a door or a wall. So I had to consider that while figuring out just exactly how I was going to make this piece. I've seen this wreath done on Pinterest, and I've seen a number of people use the witch's hat from Dollar Tree. But to me, I wanted that curve, that curve of the cornucopia, so that it would look more like or more identifiable as a cornucopia. So that's why I trimmed off the back. Now I want to say I trimmed off 1/3 of that cornucopia, and it was really easy to do. I just used wire cutters and scissors. And then to keep that wicker part from falling apart or fraying or anything like that, I just put a little bit of hot glue on the edges. Now I'm going to take wire cutters and trim off a two-section piece, I should say, from that wreath form. Now I have this jute covered wire. It's pretty much of a substantial wire. It's a little bit heavy. I'm going to twist on that section of wreath frame 3 pieces of that jute covered wire, and this is how I'm going to attach my cornucopia right to that section of wreath frame, or I should say attach the wreath frame to the cornucopia. Now this is very easy to do. I just feed that wire right through a hole in the edge of the cornucopia. It's really easy to do. Now, I kind of had to figure all this out as I went along because I've never made one of these before. I've never even looked for a tutorial on how to do it. I really love to and I've said this before, fly by the seat of my pants when I do a project. I love to figure things out. Sometimes I don't get it right the first time, but I ultimately figure it out. And that's part of my joy in crafting. All right, now I went ahead and attached this, but let me say now, wait to attach it later. I ended up twisting these wires and taking the section of cornucopia off because I thought it would be easier to do the process where I'm covering that wicker cornucopia with burlap. And I thought once I had that piece of wreath frame on there, it would just hinder me a bit. So I ended up untwisting the wires. So wait to do that later. You'll see me put it on later. I'll put them back on and I'll show you that. Now I cut out, I believe, 6 sections of this burlap. I want to say, I just eyeballed it, but I want to say 2.5 to 3 inches. Now I want this this cornucopia to be covered with burlap, but I want it kind of fraying and sort of raw and rustic looking, if that makes sense. So what I do is I take my little picker that I got from Dollar Tree, and I just pick the threads of the burlap, and I just create that fraying. I'm going to be wrapping that cornucopia with this burlap and covering it. And I like the frayed edges. So I finished that, and then I ended up cutting 3 additional pieces at maybe 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and then I frayed those as well. So I'm going to be hot gluing this burlap on the front side of that cornucopia. And I start applying my burlap around the largest portion of the cornucopia. And you're definitely going to need a glue gun and a finger protector because this is burlap. Now we're going to be overlapping the burlap on this piece. I really want that wicker all covered up. That wasn't the look I was going for, the wicker. So I just wanted to do something a little bit different. And so here I am doing something a little bit different. All right, so I don't have my finger protector on right here, but I did put it on right after I did this first application because I was thinking, oh, Dwynn, you know about burlap and hot glue. So I had a lot of gluing to do here. So after I did this initial piece, I did put on a finger protector. You'll see me do that. That hot glue just seeps right through that burlap. Now, this is a rather dense burlap, the one I got from Walmart. But there are some burlaps that are not so dense, and that hot glue will just come right through the holes. So, this piece is curved, so I'm not worried about getting the burlap on there straight across. I actually want to cross over the pieces going this way and that way. Now I covered this whole piece. You see I have my finger protector on there. I covered the whole piece with the big pieces first, and then I put a few of those more narrow strips around it. And I just secured it to each side. And now I'm going to wrap that cornucopia with this jute cord from Dollar Tree. And it's the thin cord. So I just attach it to the side with hot glue to get it started. And I'm just going to wrap it around and around and around. And I want to crisscross my jute cord. I put it this way and that way. I want it to be not in a organized fashion, if that makes any sense. See how I'm crossing it? Now you'll see on the underside, it's going to look like a real hot mess, but we are going to take care of that later. Don't worry about that now. Just wrap the cornucopia. And see how I crisscross the cords there? I just want it all wrapped up. Now, you don't necessarily have to put hot glue down every time you get to the edge because it will hold on. See, we have those cords crossing over in the back, but I'm going to take care of those in a bit. Don't worry about that now. I do put a dab of glue where each of those... Oh, we're going to take care of it now, apparently. Okay, so I put a little dab of glue there where the jute met the cornucopia. And then now those cords are secured, or that jute twine is secured, and I can trim that off in the back. But I am going to finish the back of this piece because that just looks unsightly back there. Now, here's that piece that originally I cut off of that cornucopia, and I thought about whether I was going to put it back on, and then I decided, what's the point? Because it's going to be buried in the deco mesh. All right, so now I have reapplied that jute covered wire. I put a little dab of glue there to keep those from moving around on there on that wire. And now what I'm going to do with these wires is just simply feed them through the edge of that cornucopia. And there, being that it's wicker, it's pretty easy to poke those through. I want to kind of center the cornucopia on the piece. Now it probably looks like now, well, how is all this going to create a sturdy piece? But I'll show you how I achieve that as we go along. Right now, what we need to do is have that section of the wreath frame applied. Now see how it appears sturdy on there right now, because it actually is. I twisted those wires on really, really tight, and now that piece of wreath frame is adhered to that cornucopia. It's not going anywhere. Now this is how we're going to apply the deco mesh. But furthermore, after we have all the deco mesh on that section of wreath frame, then I'm going to show you how we further secure it. So it's a one big cohesive piece. Okay, this deco mesh is one of my all-time favorites. I love it. I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby. I've had it for a while in my stash. And you're going to use around 1 roll. I created 7 bundles of this deco mesh with the scrunch method that's going to go on that section of wreath frame. This is a poly mesh. It's absolutely wonderful to work with. Minimal fraying. I'm going to be using some pipe cleaners, which I always purchase at Hobby Lobby. Their pipe cleaners are more superior to the ones at Dollar Tree, so I always go with those. Now, for this scrunching up of this deco mesh, I originally thought about doing the roll method where you roll it up a little bit, then you scrunch it, and then you roll up the other side. But I just didn't like it. It wasn't going to give me the look that I wanted. So I decided just to scrunch it all up. And the raw edges are okay with me because of the type of piece that I'm doing. Now, I take and scrunch up my deco mesh. I leave the factory edges or the finished edges on the left side and the right side. I scrunch right down the middle. My first 2 pieces, I use one of those clips to hold it from Dollar Tree. Then I put all 3 together and secure it with a pipe cleaner right down the middle. And I think this deco mesh is just made for these scrunches, these scrunch bundles. It's just absolutely gorgeous when you scrunch it up. Now, I thought I was just going to do 6 bundles, but I ended up just feeling like I needed just 1 more. So I did 7 bundles. Now I'm going to start applying these bundles to the wreath frame. I use the second wire from the outside. I just place it on there, pull it snug up against the wreath wire, and I twist it tightly. And I do the same for all 7 bundles. And this is going to fill up that wreath frame very nicely. And that burlap next to the burlap on the cornucopia is beautiful. And as you can see, here it is. Now, I wanted some additional ways to really make this very secure, a secure piece. So I put some hot glue there, as you can see what I'm doing there. And I let the deco mesh support the cornucopia there, as well as the wires that I attached to the cornucopia. So I have my finger protector on there, and I just took a couple of those little coiled up scrunches there, and I secured it right to the side or the back edge of that cornucopia. See what I'm doing there? Now I actually went around this whole wreath way down at the base, all the way around the front, and I put a little bit of hot glue. I used my finger protector, and I just pressed that deco mesh right up against that cornucopia. And it really served to create stability. That's the word that I wanted, stability. Now when this cornucopia is on a flat surface, it's just going to behave beautifully anyway, but I'm just trying to create as much stability in the piece as possible. Look how pretty that is. Now when I first looked at these cornucopia wreaths on Pinterest, I really just loved it because it's just something different and unusual. And I've been making wreaths for many, many years, and I really like it when something sparks my interest to create something different, other than the standard wreath with the leaves and the typical florals that go on an autumn wreath. I really like something different, something trendy, something, cool, outside the box, if you will. And so that's why I'm doing this wreath, and I actually think it's really cool. I love it. So I'm going to create a very, very pretty bow to go on the side of this piece. And this ribbon is so pretty. I got it on Amazon. I'll put the store where I got it in the description box. But I think they have this same ribbon at Dollar Tree. Look at this ribbon and that burlap color on there. Look how beautiful that's going to pick up that burlap in the deco mesh and the cornucopia. I'm doing a 2-loop bow on each side, or 4 loops altogether. I want to say those loops are around 9 to 10 inches. Secure the loops down the middle, twist it in the back with the pipe cleaner. Again, I have bow tutorials, plenty of them. I'll put those in the description box if you want to learn how to make bows like I do. All you have to do is watch the videos and practice. I do it very slow and methodical so that you can really grasp the technique. Now I am going to put the second tier on this bow on this absolutely gorgeous Hobby Lobby autumn ribbon. This is so pretty. Just a top quality ribbon to work with. Wired, of course. I'm going to do 2 loops on each side. These loops are a little bit smaller. I want to say around 8 inches in length. I eyeball all of my loops always, but in the beginning, when you're first learning to create, you may create a bow. You may want to measure them out if you're uncertain about whether you will get those loops even. But I promise you, the more bows you make, the easier it gets, and you won't need to measure anything after you get accustomed to making them. Such a joy to be able to make a beautiful bow. So I secure this tier in the same manner that I always do, with a pipe cleaner right down the middle. I put 1 single loop right down the center, and my 2 loops on each side. And look how pretty those leaves look sitting on those loops. I got lucky there. And sometimes when you wrap a printed ribbon, or you form the loops of a printed ribbon, form the loops I meant to say, you get really lucky and have the details of the ribbon just land perfectly on the top of your loops. And this is one of those cases. So I'm going to put both of those ribbons together, or those bows together. Separate the tails down the middle, press them firmly together. Take 1 long pipe cleaner, stick it through the center loop, bring it around the back, and secure those 2 bows together. And this is one gorgeous bow that's going to go on the side of this piece. I angle my tails I believe I waited to do that until I got it actually on the piece, and it's going to go on that left side, just like you see there. Oh, so pretty. Now, here I am doing that gluing that I talked about to try and make that piece really, really stable. You'll never see that glue down in there, and it just works very, very well to keep that cornucopia secured to the deco mesh. Now, when I saw this cornucopia wreaths on Pinterest, to me it looks like the cornucopia being upside down, of course. The effect it creates, from my view, is that all of the contents are flowing out of the cornucopia onto the wreath, if that makes sense. But say the same as when you see a cornucopia on the table and all of the contents are coming out of the cornucopia. This is the same difference, but it's just a wreath. And I just love that. I think it's such a cool idea. Okay, now it's time to start applying those adornments or the embellishments. I love those little sweatery pumpkins on there. So I put an orange one right next to the bow to bring out the orange on the bow. I got a very pretty maple leaf in orange to frame out my gorgeous sunflower that's going to go right there, almost in the middle, but tilted a little bit to the side. And I framed that out with 2 maple leaves. I have one of those little sweater pumpkins in the off-white over there, all the way over there on the side by my hand. And then I put that little speckled pumpkin right in the front. It's got one great stem on it, and I just love that. Now, I do have some of these long pine cones, which are really my absolute favorite. And I thought it would look really pretty to have a couple of pine cones on that piece. I was putting it in there, but I didn't end up leaving it in there. So what I do is kind of a dry run, if you will, and I just put my leaves in there and my pieces, all my pumpkins and whatever I'm going to put on the piece. Decide where I'm going to put them. Once I've done so, I just take my hot glue gun out and glue everything in. It will adhere very well to that deco mesh. And this is so pretty. And I have everything in place. I put a little bit of orange berries. Okay, this is how I finished the back. I just cut out a piece of burlap. It was that easy. Covered up that opening. Then I took a piece of that jute twine. I wrapped it, actually glued it around the front. It's not going to matter because you have all those strings. So it's not going to matter that you have one more string there. I glued it all the way around and created a little hanger for that piece. Now this will hold because it's very well secured. And underneath, I took several squares of burlap. I just kind of created like a, not a bundle, but just a little poof of burlap, and I stuck them up inside of there just to finish it off in the back. I love it. So pretty. One last look. I hope you like this one. Please remember to subscribe, give my video a thumbs up, comment, and share this video. Okay, until next time, you all take care.